hoping that this works. I just started at 12:45 and the link, it was the wrong live. So it sent me to tomorrow's class. So I'm really hoping that this works. Yes, technical difficulties. I'm really fingers crossed for this. Hang tight, guys. Let me refresh the feed and see if that helps. I don't understand why it's doing this to me. Okay, I'm gonna go back. It says it's public. Refresh here. I'm so sorry, you guys. Come on, you can do it. Again, apologies. It is being, oh my goodness, it's sending now to another. For whatever reason, it's not working. Okay, so, wow. Working. Hang on. Trying something. Okay. I think there might be something wrong with the system because it used up tomorrow's classes links first. It's still saying that Metabolic, Meltdown, and B.L.A.S.T are the ones that we're starting with. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna go live on my phone and we'll discuss that way instead on Facebook, and I will send you guys the link. So my sincere apologies. All right. So yeah, I don't think this is working. This is really odd. I apologize, you guys, once again. This is so frustrating because I set it all up ahead of time and it's still saying that I think what I might do is just use, I'm going to use this link because it is not working on the other. So, and I'll change all the information. Please try this link. So frustrating. Again, I sincerely apologize. Thank you guys so much for putting up with all of my crazy. I appreciate it. All right. Hopefully this works. Again, I don't know why that particular link did not work. It does say that it is B.L.A.S.T and it is not. So I apologize. And I'm going to change up later. I'll change the description, but I have put in a link in there in the old one. So I'm really hoping you guys find me. Let me know if that is not the case. This link is not working. Even though I set it up properly, I had it exactly at the right time. I double checked. It is just not there. So again, apologies. I feel like every time I try and do one of these types of things, something goes wrong. It's so frustrating. But you know what? We soldier on, we keep going, and yes. So again, apologies. Thank you for enduring, for continuing on with me. I really appreciate it. Now, I do want to kick this off by just letting you guys know what this is. So all we're doing is, yay, I know Mashida's here. It's good to have you. I think Jenya was going to be a fly on the wall because she's at work. This will be posted afterwards, so you guys can, if you got it, head out early or you can't watch the whole thing, this will be available to you guys so that you can watch it later. So anyway, next profession, yes. I spend all day solving problems for IT. for people who are having troubles with our app. So you would think that I would know how to troubleshoot this kind of stuff, but things come at me at all kinds of ways. So again, thank you for enduring. And I just want to start out by giving a quick few, yes, I need help. IT needs help. IT needs IT help. Few ground rules before we begin. I am not concerned at all, but I just want to make sure that we set a precedent just so that moving forward we know what to expect. Of course, we keep it clean. Of course, we keep it neutral. Like, we're not going to talk about things we're super fired up and passionate about that are negative. Let's put it that way. Yeah? That's a good rule of thumb, right? Thirdly, we're going to keep it encouraging. So we're never going to bash anybody. We're never going to say, ooh, that diet is stupid. You know, like, we're going to try and keep it neutral. Also, I want you to know what this is not about. So this is not about a quick fix. We've all been there and tried that and done that, right? This is not about which diet is the best. This is not about taking extreme measures in any way, shape, or form. I really want to make that very, very clear, okay? This is meant, however, to be very encouraging. This is meant to answer some questions. This is also meant to get rid of any doubt, any confusion, at least to begin. There might be more doubt and more confusion. That is like more questions that are brought to the table, but I don't think that this is the last of this kind of thing. So my hope is that these discussions will continue. I really do want to make this group. So this is based on a Facebook group that I created, all about how to become a fat burning machine, but to do it in a way that is sustainable, holistic, and we'll get into that a little bit more, and also where you're supported. Okay, so it's meant to be a community where, you know, your questions get answered, but that you feel like you are supported by me and by your fellow members in the group. So yes. Also, we're going to really be focused on health. I know that some of you follow me on my socials, which are in the description below. And the content that I post, I'm not a big selfie gal. I probably should get more FaceTime, but because I always teach classes and I'm always in front of the camera, for that, I guess I don't make up for it in my other socials. And so, but my whole jive and kind of vibe is to create content that actually matters. So, yeah. Anyway, this is an open forum, and we're going to be discussing a few topics. Please, in the comments, if you have any questions, if you have any things that really bother you, I am so happy to tackle those. And more than anything, I want, even if I don't have the answers, I will find them for you, okay? I will do my darndest to get to the bottom of whatever your question is. I am a somewhat wealth of knowledge, like because I'm such a passionate learner, and I never want to stop learning, and I always want to continue to grow. So I'm consuming information constantly, and it's not just information that is not vetted, and it's not just information that I like, but it is information that I find the source. I try to make sure that it is good stuff, and I also compare that to other things that I have heard, and I reach out to those who are more skilled and who have more time in this industry, and on a personal level, and also by reading articles and books and research that has been done about these particular issues. So with all of that said, I know that's a lot, that's a mouthful. I really do want to open this up, but I am going to follow a step-by-step format just to throw out some ideas that can be really incredibly confusing when it comes to our metabolism, and especially after 30, and especially even more after 40, and then so on and so forth. As you continue to add that decade on, I feel like, especially as women, men too, but women, we have a very precarious set of hormones in our body that can tend to be affected by a multitude of things. And all of that spearheads our metabolism, and whether our metabolism actually functions at a level that is high and that is healthy and that allows for us to live lives that are full of energy, vitality, free from brain fog, free from stubborn weight, especially that tire around the midsection. So yes, I understand to a certain extent, having experienced a bit of it myself, heading into my 50s in a couple of years, like this is significant stuff for me too. It's a passion of mine, because I not only am in the industry where I've heard everything under the sun with regard to you just need to exercise more and eat less, to all the way to you just need these supplements, to this is the diet that you need to be on. I've heard it all, and I'm sure you have too. And so how do we whittle that down? How do we make it palatable to you? And by palatable, it's no pun intended, but what I'm finding more and more in all of my research is that we are individuals. Yes, we kind of come from the same stock. We're like the basic structural DNA is pretty similar, but when it comes to the individual, there's so many variables and so many different things that can actually affect you. And yes, there are foundational things that need to be in place in order for you to have a metabolism that is healthy and functioning properly. But I also want you to know that you're not crazy for feeling like no matter what I do, no matter how I implement, it's still not helping. And personally, I have found that I cannot prescribe one meal, one stop, shop, any of that. It doesn't work. Yes, there are principles that do generally work, at least for some success levels, because as a personal trainer, I have experienced that, having helped clients through multiple transformations and different things like that. But when it comes down to it, it is really truly about the individual. So I just want to make that very clear. And again, I'm going to put it out there. If you're on live, thank you for being here, of course. If you have any really pressing questions, feel free to ask. I am so happy to answer anything that I can. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue on. So we talked about the individual. Secondly, I really do think that there's a lot of confusion around calories. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying go ahead and eat whatever the hell you want. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I do want to mention that it is a complicated thing. And maybe you're going, oh, great. Because that's what I think when I hear somebody tell me, well, it's not about calories, counting calories. It's actually the opposite. It's about stopping the counting of calories for a variety of reasons. And I'll dive into that in a second. But it kind of is disheartening, because that is the one thing that I feel like a lot of people feel like they can control. Now, I want to say, depending on your personality, there's a 1 to 10 scale that you can be on when it comes to these types of things. And 1 being you don't care at all and you eat whatever the hell you want, like I mentioned. And 10 being you are so strict you are actually causing yourself damage, which both ends of the spectrum are causing you damage. Let's be real, right? If you're eating crap food, you're going to get crap out in more ways than one, right? Your energy, your health, your brain, like how your brain functions, how your heart functions, your liver, like everything. If you put junk in, your body is not going to function at the right levels. Your metabolism will slow as a result, your blood sugar, everything won't work properly. But at the 10, if you are so extreme and you're cutting so many calories and you're counting every little last thing, let's be honest, you're stressed out of your mind. So number 1, you're stressing your body physically by removing those calories and making your body's set point have to lower, which means you will be burning less just to let your body function. Number 1. Number 2, you mentally are going to start to develop a poor relationship with food. Hate to break it to you. I mean, you probably already know this, but when we start punishing ourselves for not eating well, or we start punishing ourselves for eating something or not eating enough of something, or it's a dangerous place to be. And this is kind of the beginnings, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it literally sometimes the beginnings of food disorders, which are mental. Also, the stress of it. The stress can send your cortisol levels up and then cause you to actually hold on to the weight. When you're stressed, your body is not able to metabolize as well. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but I do want to make that very, very clear. So how do we find a happy medium? How do we go to a place where we're not going to either extreme? Okay. I do think that certain personalities benefit from a food log. Not everybody, okay? And that is something that you will probably have to determine for yourself. If you are someone who doesn't like the details, and you're like, well, I think I'm eating around this much, then you might want to consider logging your food. Not for a bad relationship with it, but just so you have an idea of how much things cost. And I actually mean that. Food is costly. Food is energy, right? And different food costs different amounts. We know this to be true. Say, for instance, you take a Snickers bar in one hand. It has a certain number of calories. The same amount of calories are in a full meal. Chicken, broccoli, a nice carbohydrate to all go together. Which one are you going to pick, right? So, that having been said, if that you lean towards that, I really don't know. It might be helpful for you to keep a log so that you can understand what is actually going in your cake hole. I know it's helped me in the past, just to kind of determine how much things are worth, because then it helps you make decisions based on your day, and you plan ahead, like if you're going out for a meal that evening, where you can splurge a little. Maybe you cut back a little bit earlier in the day. Make sense? But then if you are someone who is really detail oriented, who likes to have control, who tends to be type A personality, and this is nothing against either personality at all. It's knowing yourself and knowing how you are wired, so that you can properly choose the right path to go down. Right? This is what I love about the individual choices that you can make based on you. Not, I need this diet in my life and I need this plan because my friend over here got results on it, if that makes sense. So if that tends to be you, you're detail oriented, you're very stickler about things, you might need to let up a little. And you might need to, because that tendency would push you more towards a stressful environment, okay? So it's like figuring out, doing some soul searching. I know that in our day and age, in our society, soul searching is not really something that we do. We kind of get stuck in the rhythm of life, and we forget, like I'm a whole person. It's not just what I'm eating. It's not just what I'm doing for exercise. Like some days I wake up and I'm mentally not 100% there. And you see it in my workout. You guys probably have seen it if you take class with me, right? I just, again, want to point back to, it's a little more complicated, right? And to say that it's not, I think you're missing the boat. We would be missing the boat if we went that route. I just want to take a quick moment to pause, take a sip of my tea, and allow any comments to be written or questions on anything I have said so far. Because this is a discussion. I don't want to just monopolize the whole thing and talk. So please let me know. All right. I'll give a couple more seconds since the live is a little bit lag. There's a little lag time. But I do want to let you guys know that we probably, given the little bit of technical difficulties at the beginning, we probably have maybe another 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how long you guys can hang out. I want to keep these short, quick, to the point. But I do want to cover a couple more things. So I wanted to potentially talk about intermittent fasting, supplementation, of course, whole foods, not the store. Okay, good. Thank you, Ms. Sheed. I appreciate your feedback. Set point. Yes, thank you, Cheryl. So let me dive into that now. But I do also want to address toxic load. So those are the things that we'll cover next if we have time. If not, I'm going to hop on again in the future. Hopefully this will be maybe a once a week type of thing. And I'm even open to you guys sending your questions ahead of time and then me addressing them as a topic even, and condensing it down. I'd love to. I just wanted to open the forum up and give a couple talking points, but I am so open to taking it and turning it into something that is more focused, okay? So Cheryl, set point. There is something called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And what that means is it's your body's basic needs, burn needs in a day. So let me further elaborate. So it's what it takes your body to run, basically. So your brain function, your organ function, your muscles moving. It's essentially your NEAT. So I don't know if you've heard that term before, but it's the non-exercise activity that you do in a day. So it's the getting up and the cooking and the walking to your car, or pushing the grocery cart. It's those types of things. All of that compacted into one that is your set point. So in a day, the typical woman, depending on their age, but it's anywhere from 1100 and on up. Maybe I don't think I've ever gone over 1500, and I have had a very high metabolism. I could be wrong, but about that much just to run your body, including all of that extra, like the neat movement. So that's your set point. That's what you burn. That's what's required of you in that day. And then any exercise that you do on top of that is what gets you to the higher caloric expenditure, if that makes sense. So if your calories exceed both your set point and the exercise burn that you've had in a day, then pretty much guaranteed, especially over time, if that continues, you will experience weight gain. That's the formula, the math behind it. But my whole point is that yes, although we have a set point, you are so welcome. Although we have a set point and we have this caloric expenditure thing, it doesn't always work like that. Because often, especially after 30, 40, 50, 60, what starts to happen is you will experience other factors coming into play, like your hormonal levels, especially around your cycle, especially around menopause, will drop off, and then your body goes into this, especially if you're stressed out, this fight or flight mode, and it will not let go of the fat, no matter what you do, no matter how low you drop your calories. And that actually further exacerbates you trying to get your metabolism to a better place. It's a vicious cycle. It really is. It's terrible. So that's why I'm saying, for a lot of people, we need to stop counting calories, if that makes sense. And even those who are food logging and counting their calories, it's for informational purposes only. And if you have the ability to kind of disassociate and not fall into that trap of making it about a punishment situation. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so let's talk, if you will, about intermittent fasting. I know I have given a blog post. If you're interested, the link for that, I can put that in the description as well, but it's Living Life Lit with two eyes, .com. So and my intermittent fasting dives way further into more detail in that post. So if you have more questions on that, I just want to make this particular point very clear that it's not for everyone. It is a great tool if it works for you, and if you can get it right. If you have the mental power and the discipline to stick to it. You guys, this morning, I intermittent fast because I find that it works for me, for my schedule, it works for my mental health, and it works for my maintenance. Okay, so, and I follow a very, I follow it according to my cycle. I still have a cycle, but, and even if you do not have a cycle, there's a way of going about handling that. You may not have the peaks and valleys that you used to of your hormones, but you can still eat according to your body's needs when it comes to being a woman and having those same hormones still flowing through your body. Okay. So anyway, I just say all of that to say this morning, I was hungry as heck. You guys, I woke up starving, which is actually a good sign, because when you intermittent fast for any longer period of time, if you find that you are not hungry anymore, then it means that your body has kind of hit that homeostasis. And it's like, okay, I'm plateauing now. And so then you have to kind of shock it or change it up so that your body goes, oh, wait, what? What is happening now? So yes, I want to make sure that that is very clear, that any of these things that I am talking about doesn't mean that you have to adhere to them. It is trying things out for yourself, seeing if they work. And believe me, I say that with a grain of salt, because I've tried so many different things. Coming out of the pandemic, I put on 15 pounds. Who didn't? I was teaching online and I still put on 15 extra pounds. And what the heck? It is so hard to get off. Even as a fitness instructor, teaching 5 to 6 times a week, sometimes working out an hour and a half or more a day, it is so hard. So I want to make that absolutely clear. It is not an easy thing to do. So yes, having tried multiple things, it really makes it kind of frustrating. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but exacerbating. It's very difficult to kind of keep that momentum going when you feel like everything that I try is met with failure, or maybe you don't stick to it long enough to actually see results, and you need accountability and you need community, and it, like I said, it is individual. It is not you need to follow step by step because this works for everybody. I've never seen that happen in all my years of being in this industry. And my hope is that you feel a sigh of relief going, yes, I know I have my work cut out for me, but at the same time, just know you're not crazy for feeling what you feel, for feeling like it's an uphill battle, for feeling like there's no solution for me. I know, because I've been there. You might not think it looking at me, but I know my own body, and I know what I'm capable of, and I know where I was and where I am, or where I am now and where I was post-pandemic. And you know yourself, and you know what you want to see yourself get back to. And I do want to say that it is possible. It is possible. It is absolutely 100% possible. It's just finding the things that work for you, right? So back to intermittent fasting. Sorry, I took a little tangent there. I have found, for me personally, that it works because time is limited. Eating takes time. Preparing really good food takes time. I hate to break it to you, but if you're going to eat a whole food diet, which is the most recommended, you've got to prepare. There are shortcuts and tips and tricks, but eating something from a package or that's been prepared, unless you want to pay an arm and a leg for it, like from Whole Foods, they have an Urban Foods, I think it is. I think they're one of the best examples of prepared food, but it's literally $10 for a smoothie. It's so expensive, and you're paying for their time and the quality of ingredients. So I'm not here to, you know, whip anybody or cause you to self-flagellate or anything like that. And like, you need to, because that's not what this is about. But I do want to encourage you to really take a hard look at, you know, okay, and I've had to do this myself. What do I want to be? Where do I want to be when I reach such and such age? How do I want to live my life? And I know that sometimes, especially when you're younger, it's hard to take that stance because it's hard to see that far in advance. And you're like, well, I'm just going to do, who cares? I'll pay the piper later, right? But as you start to age, you get closer and closer to, you know, where you're like, I can't jump as high as I used to, or different things that kind of, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I need to maybe pay a little more attention, closer attention to this. You begin to think, okay, what kind of investment am I putting into my health? Now, if you're somebody who is like that, or who has come to that conclusion, I do want to encourage you that, you know, it's about the little choices. It's not I'm just, okay, this is the day. Today, and then what does inevitably happen? We screw up. We have a party on the weekend. We have, you know, a wedding to go to. We have an event to go to. We have a night where the dog gets sick and we don't sleep because we're at the emergency vet. We have a kid who gets sick. We have, even in college, if they're in college and they get sick. Or if you have grandchildren, your grandkid is sick and your daughter or son, they're like, we don't know what to do. And then you end up with taking care of, you know, to help out, right? There are any number of things in our lives that disrupt constantly. And that's not going to change. What does need to change is our approach. Because we're going to fall off and have things flying at us constantly. What do we do when those things come flying? How do we keep walking forward in the midst of all of that? And there are going to be days where, like this morning, I wanted to eat so bad. I was so hungry. But I used some tips and tricks and hacks to help me get over that hump, right? And I just want to encourage you that it is okay to fall down. It's okay to sneak a snack because you're starving. And it's okay to win too. It's okay to be like, I did it. I made it through. I was so hungry, but I drank some tea and I made it through, right? I can't emphasize it enough. And it's that mindset that says, yeah, you know what? I didn't do so good yesterday, but today I'm going to do better. Today is a new day. I'm not going to wait another week before I start fresh. Today, I'm starting fresh. Because I didn't do so hot yesterday. That doesn't paint my entire life, and it doesn't make me a horrible person. I know that's a very crazy statement, but sometimes I felt that way. I suck. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I gave in again. And then you spiral, and it doesn't do you any good. And so continuing on, because what happens is that compound effect. The little choices we make consistently over time add up. They really do. So when a pilot sets a course on his, manifest, he says, okay, this is exactly where I need to go. If it is off by degree. 1. He will be like completely off course. He will start somewhere intending to be in JFK, land in JFK. He will land 500 miles south. 1 degree. So I know that's a negative example, but how much more does it matter that if we take those small 1% changes regularly, daily, and even if we kind of veer off course just a little bit, we correct and we go back, how much more are we going to reach our destination, right? And it's not this huge thing that we're undertaking. It's these small little steps toward getting to that end goal eventually that add up. Compound interest, it's the same thing, when it comes to money. Like, it matters. These little choices matter. So I keep veering off the intermittent fasting. Does anybody have any questions about intermittent fasting? Because I'm happy to answer if you're wondering specifically. And if I don't answer every question, there is a lot of information in my post. But if you have specific wonderings about that particular topic, I'm happy to answer them. Anyway, intermittent fasting, I feel like if you don't, my whole point with that offshoot was to mention that if you don't stay consistent, you won't see the results. But if you do, and you do it at the right time, it can really set the stage for you. Mashid, yes and no, okay? So, and the reason I say that, so the question was, going back to the hunger that I was talking about this morning, should it be ignored? So, I say this with a caveat, okay? Sometimes I think it's right to not ignore your hunger, okay? If you have been really stressed out, if you have, if you didn't eat properly the day before, if you are finding that your energy is waning when you do a workout, it's probably a good sign that you need to eat. It's listening, it's becoming more in tune with your body and what your body's telling you. And for women, especially after their cycle's gone, it's like you may find it more difficult to stave off that hunger. It's your body's telling you you need to eat. Now, the other caveats are sometimes if your blood sugar is out of control, like you don't have good regulation with your blood sugar, if you're pre-diabetic, if you have insulin resistance, and what I mean by that is when you eat, your blood sugar skyrockets and it's causing you to hold on to fat rather than being utilized as energy. Let's put it that way, okay? And that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. So it's listening to your body's cues. And when I said the hunger was a sign to me that everything is actually still working properly, is I meant because oftentimes if you are a consistent intermittent faster, you can find that your body will even out and that you stop having the same results with that particular tactic, if that makes sense. So that having been said, finding what works for you, and even if you end up eating, if it helps you feel better, and I'm not talking about emotional eating. If you fuel your body with really good food to break your fast, like pretty much every day, not every single day, but I really, really try to get a really big amount of good vegetables in the morning, greens, a multitude. I try and keep it varietal. I make that and I eat that first, and then I have a little bit of my protein, and then I have a little bit of carb, and it's big. I eat a lot. That's my particular solution, and it works for me. If you're fueling yourself properly, and you feel better after eating, it's a good sign. Doesn't mean that you never intermittent fast again, or you never fast period again, because there are so many benefits to fasting, and fasting for longer extended periods of time, which help your body kind of purge and cleanse. And there's something in your cells that happens where it gets rid of all the old junk. It's called autophagy. Super wonderful byproduct of fasting. All of that is great. I mean, fasting is a tool that is underutilized, especially if we're not using it in the right way and kind of in accordance with our cycles. So I hope that answers your question. Really quickly, some of the tips that you can use are tea, water with lemon. Sometimes when you have dysregulation with your blood sugar, even water will send you out of fasting mode. So it's then you have to involve, like, figuring out what your blood glucose level is at different points, and it's a little more complicated. But again, individual, right? You've got to figure it out for you, and why you want to do it. Because if you don't know why you want to do it, you're probably not going to stick to it. If you do not care about your health and you're not concerned about it, you're not going to stick to a plan. But if you are, and you find value in what you're doing, then you will stick to it, absolutely. All right, so we are right at 45 minutes. Please let me know if you want to continue on, because I can afford another 15, but I do want to value your time. I had only allotted 45 minutes, but I'm happy to answer any other questions, and it looks like we'll probably have to continue with more topics later. There's so much to talk about, always. But yeah, if you guys don't have any other further questions or want me to expand on anything else I've said, we can call it or continue on. So I'll give you a couple more seconds. Take a sip of tea again. I've already eaten, by the way. All right. And again, I am so happy to take and grab some of these ideas. Like, there's stuff I want to talk about, like berberine. I don't know if you've heard of that supplement. It is all the rage. No worries, Aruna. Thank you for stopping in and telling me. Please let me know if you have questions on any topic, really, when it comes to health, nutrition, wellness, all of that. Okay, Mashid, do you have a specific question or topic that you would like to dive into? The things that I had on my list were talking about berberine, which is a supplement, how whole foods can help, how sugar and trans fats do not help your health, and then toxic loads. So if you have any of those that pique your interest, or if you want to ask me a question from anything that I've chatted about so far, I'm happy to answer. Cheryl, if you have any questions, same deal. Okay, take another sip of tea. Yeah, Arun, I forget. Wednesdays are... No. Oh, you have early pickup today? Anyway, I don't have pickup until 3:15. They get out late here in this area, my kids. All right. Well, if you guys don't... Okay. The supplement. Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. So, I do, in approaching the whole supplement topic, 2 p.m. Okay, got it. They start earlier, I'm sure, than mine. Mine doesn't start till 9. What? Anyway, so before we dive into the supplement topic, I do want to mention that there is, this is not meant to scare anybody, but there is this thing, and it's called toxic load, okay? And if you're already going, oh gosh, what is she going to talk about? I'm talking about not only the environmental, physical, mental, all of that, it all comes into play in terms of the load. Yes, Nashida, I would love to chat about that. I'll make this portion quick and then we'll dive into that too. So when our bodies are in this world, we are exposed to toxins in the air, toxins in what we eat, toxins in the products that we use on our bodies. It's literally everywhere. And so often what happens is your body's defense mechanism is to surround those toxins with fat. And this is kind of diving into your question, Mashid. So because the fat is a protective mechanism so that we do not, we don't get affected by our toxic load. So, and then when there's so much toxin, what happens is your body's like, no, I'm not going to let go of that. It's protecting you, right? So there are ways to get around that. But the reason I even brought it up in the first place is that sometimes when we take supplementation, it really does nothing for us. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. And it could be one of two things. It could be that your toxic load in your body is so high that the supplement does nothing for you. Okay, and you need to make sure that the supplement is actually of good quality. It's been tested. It's not just a bunch of fillers. One of the things you can definitely try and stay away from as much as possible is magnesium stearate. If you see that in a supplement, it's probably not going to be as effective. It's a filler that kind of almost cancels out whatever you're taking. And there's debate about that. I just personally am trying to stay away from anything that is going to devalue the efficacy of the supplement. I'm paying money for it, so, right? Why would you do that? So if you see that ingredient in your supplement, maybe steer clear. And it's hard to find supplements without that, to be completely honest. So berberine, all of that having been said, and we can have another discussion on toxic load too, because it's a big one. Berberine is a plant, Asian plant, a bush, that they've been using for centuries. And the benefits are crazy, you guys. I'm not prescribing this to you, okay? You can do some more research yourself on it, but they are likening it to metformin. That's a A1C lower. It helps to lower your A1C, your blood sugar, basically. It has so many benefits. It helps your metabolism, drops your blood sugar, of course. It helps your joints. It's like, if you do your research, it is the benefits far outweigh anything that I've heard of. And people who have been taking Ozempic and these different drugs to try and manage their metabolism, what they're finding is that this is a better alternative because it's natural and it doesn't have the side effects that these other drugs do. I'm not prescribing it. Please do not hear me as that. Please make sure that you talk to your doctor. Please make sure that you do your homework and you research it, and you don't. If you want a suggestion of a particular brand, I'm happy to give that suggestion, but I am not telling you to take it. I'm just giving you my personal experience with it, okay? So being on it, my body fat has dropped, my muscle has increased. I can tell you that much. I do not measure my blood glucose levels, but I can tell you that my mom, who is pre-diabetic, has been on it, and her sugar levels, because she takes her measurement every morning, have been under 100. And prior to taking the supplement, they were not. She was really worried. So just to give you a little bit of an example. So it could, awesome, Cheryl, I'm so glad. It could help you, okay? But just keep also in mind that the quality of the supplement can affect the efficacy as well as your toxic load, okay? And we will discuss toxic load on another discussion, okay? So heading into Masheed's, the role of fat. So there is so much misinformation about fat, okay? And I will keep this brief. We will finish with this particular topic today, because I think that's more than enough that we've discussed today. It's a lot. It's like a fire hose, right? In the 1950s, there were some studies coming out because with the Industrial Revolution and the war, World War II specifically, there were some incredible developments in the food manufacturing industry, and a lot of it had to do with making things more convenient, more shelf stable, and more palatable. And it's only increased over time. A lot of what food manufacturers are doing now is to make you trick your body into thinking you're not full and that you need to continue to eat that processed food because it makes your dopamine levels go up and gives you a sense of like satisfaction, but yet still being hungry. Like they literally have modified foods such that you will continue to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, just sending your calories through the roof, and a whole host of other things. So just keep that in mind, right? So when you open a bag of chips, hello. And who doesn't love a bag of chips? Oh my gosh, myself included. So to get back to fat, they've created all of these, processes that allowed for this palatable food, but they also were having research come out that sugar was very detrimental to humans. That there was disease directly linked to it, that too much of it could cause a multitude of issues health-wise. But a lot of the food industry is tied in, and I hate to say it, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but a lot of it is tied into money, and so what happened was they essentially shut up the researchers and turned the focus on fat. And if you want more about sugar, I also wrote a blog post about sugar as well, Living Life Lit with 2 Eyes, and how the industry shifted the attention to fat and made everyone, there was a specific article in Time magazine that made everyone think that fat was the culprit. And it took off like wildfire. And so I remember growing up in my grandparents' house, because my grandfather had a sweet tooth, and that my grandparents essentially raised me. I mean, my parents were working constantly, so they were there to raise me. But he had a heart attack, and even though he was thin as a rail, but he ate a lot of sugar, and so his doctor prescribed him a no-fat diet. We went from, whole milk and butter and, having these types of foods to literally, margarine and non-fat milk, skim milk, the chalk water, all of that overnight. It was quite the shock for a lot of us. But that being said, his health did not improve. And I'm not using him as the end-all be-all to dictate the answer to this question, but he is one example of how dangerous taking fat out of your diet is. And the reason I say that is because the studies have now come out since then that if you do not have a fat in your diet, if you completely remove it, you will actually, it will be to your detriment. And if the fat that you eat is poor fat, it is the type of fat that your body doesn't need, and because there are different types of fat, if you don't have the right balance, that can also send you sideways. I don't want to make and muddy the waters, but because we vilified fat instead of sugar, what has happened is the opposite. Yes. Oh, good. Yes. Transition from yeah, it's very, very recent, isn't it? In the industry. So, what they did was they vilified fat, and then in order to make things taste good, they added more sugar into the fat-free products. So you were getting the sugar bomb every time you ate a fat-free thing that you thought, oh, this is good for me, right? Because it doesn't have fat in it. So what it does is if you actually look at your body is, your brain is literally needs fat for survival. And your cells are surrounded by a layer of fat. Good fats are absolutely essential. You cannot take it out of your diet. And by good fats, I mean avocados, eggs, anything grass-fed, pasture-raised, flaxseed, hemp seed, good, healthy olive oil. Like not the kind that, you want to get the dark kind of almost green, from Italy or Greece, or there's some places in California too. When you taste it, has a slight bitterness to it. That's the kind of olive oil I'm talking about, in a dark bottle, and that if you put it in the fridge, it gets hard. That's the kind of olive oil I'm talking about. These are good fats, okay? Bad fats, trans fats, anything with hydrogenated oils. Now, the government did cut it off, and they said industry standard now, because the studies were coming out, and it's so detrimental to our health that the government actually stepped in and said you can't have this in processed foods anymore. But they found loopholes around it, so they're still out there. If you aren't careful, the processed foods that you eat most likely will have it. Donut shops, they use most of the time primarily trans fats to fry their donuts in. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And what they're discovering now is that, I just posted about this too in the socials, trans fat today, in fact, trans fats combined with sugar actually
the research that's coming out now is even if they eliminated sugar from the diet, the trans fats are causing the problems in blood sugar elevation, among other things. You know, you've got all kinds of issues that come from that too. But so yes, just know that good fats, there are in, for example, in grass-fed meats and dairy and poultry, pasture-raised, grass-fed, there is a fatty acid in those fats that helps you burn fat. It's the complete opposite of what everyone's been taught to believe. Is saturated fat is bad for you. Well, it depends on where it's coming from. And it depends on the quality of what you're eating. And if it's processed, super processed, probably guaranteed not good for you. But if you're getting things like avocados and olive oil and grass-fed and all of that, you can't go wrong, really. I mean, obviously you're not going to want to eat a ton of it because different types of oils need to be in balance in your body. Because of processed foods, there's a high ratio of omega-6s, which are in processed foods everywhere. It's like the vegetable oils and the things that they use in order to make the food really tasty, and a very low amount of omega-3s, salmon, flaxseed, hemp seed, cod liver oil, all of those things. And so there's this bad ratio, and we want to even it out. We want to make it similar. Yes, of course. So I know that was a lot. I'm going to put the link in the chat, or not the link, but the name of the supplement in the chat. So hopefully you guys can do your research. It's called berberine. Let's see here. Open this back up. Berberine. And I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Hopefully you gleaned some good information, and I do want to continue the discussion. We can talk about toxic load, and listen, we probably could have weeks upon weeks upon weeks of discussions that you can attend or watch later, because it's good stuff, right? If you have more questions on anything we talked about today, feel free to reach out to me directly. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Mashid, for being here. Thank you, Aruna. And hopefully we will have a good time next time as well. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, listen, if you want to hop on a call with me and just discuss anything to do with your health and how this isn't about, you know, of course it's about you and your journey, but if I can help you get there, I'd like to help. Okay, so the link is going to be, oh, absolutely, Mashid. The link is going to be in the description. I'm going to change all the titles because obviously this did not work in here. And maybe in the future just go Facebook Live next time. But yes, feel free to reach out and schedule a call with me. The link is, like I said, in the description, because I'd be more than happy to chat with you on a one-on-one basis. It's free. Yes, and I do have some programs coming out soon, and hopefully you'd be interested in that too. One is on self-sabotage, and one is a 10-day nutrition boot camp, because, hey, we all need some help, right? Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.